Ask Reddit thread. Parents of Reddit who dislike, hate, or resent your children. What happened? Using throwaway because my wife knows my Reddit. When she was pregnant with our first and only child, we knew before birth that she was high risk of Down syndrome because the gene was quite prevalent in both our histories. We both got tested and the doctor told us that our daughter had an over 80% chance that she will be born with Down syndrome. Our marriage up to this point was happy and wonderful. We dated for 9 months before getting married. And we were more partners than a couple. Everything we did, we decided together. We bought our own business, which didn't cause any fights, but rather we thrived because she was good at what I wasn't and vice versa. I was a messy kid before I met her, and she helped me change my ways. She lacked hobbies before I met her, and I helped her find things she truly loved doing. We were happy. Very, very happy. The doctor told us that abortion was a viable option, but we needed to decide within a week or it would be too late. I knew right away that I was for the abortion, but didn't know how to bring it up. When we finally did sit down and talk, I brought all sorts of articles and books on kids with Down syndrome. I tried to show her rather than convince her of how hard our life would be if our child actually did have it. It was going to be hard for both of us to have a healthy child, let alone one that needed more care. We were both busy and happy. She didn't want to kill our unborn child, and there was nothing I could do to really change her mind without really making her mad and ruin our relationship. So I went with it. As luck would have it, our daughter was born with translocation Down syndrome. Only 1% of all cases of Down syndrome are that, and it has a lot to do with hereditary conditions. I don't want to go into how bad our life became. I really can't even handle typing it out. My wife had to quit her job, which she adored. We had to move to a smaller house after a year and a half because of the medical bills. When I came home from work, she was too tired to talk or even see me and went to bed. And my entire 5 hours of free time, every single day, was spent caring for our daughter in some form or another. I didn't see my friend for 9 months. Missed my cousin's wedding because we couldn't even think about traveling. Everything changed, and everything changed for the worse. My wife and I only talked when we fought. Either she was too tired and that caused her anger, or I worked too much and didn't help her enough. To tell you my life went to shit is an understatement, because I can't even imagine how much extra stress my wife must have endured in those first couple of years. I don't hate my daughter, but I do resent the fact that we had her. Even though I knew her life would be this way, I got to the park sometimes and sit and watch all the happy fathers play with their happy kids, watch them throw the ball around, or just jump around the jungle gym. That's the life I wanted, that I dreamed of, but I will never have. My wife and I are still together, but neither wants to burden the other by leaving. Okay, I want to look at this up. What the hell is this special Down syndrome? Translocation Down syndrome. Translocation Down syndrome refers to a type of Down syndrome that is caused by rearranging chromosome material. In this case, it's like a bunch of technical talk. 3 to 4% of babies born with Down syndrome have translocation Down syndrome. If you had a room full of 100 babies with Down syndrome, they would all look alike and have similar features and health problems. You would not be able to pick out the babies that have translocation. Whenever a translocation is found, the parent's chromosomes are studied to determine whether the translocation was inherited or not. If one parent has a translocation chromosome, then the doctor knows the baby inherited translocation from the parent. The parent will actually have a 45... This doesn't really tell you what it is. It's all technical jumbo. Oh, whatever. I'll just look it out later. That's one of the most painful and saddest things I've ever read on Reddit. I'm sorry for your circumstances. I do have a question. As someone who knows nothing about babies and pre-birth testings, the part about the doctors giving you probability percentages was fascinating to me. Can they test for every disease or birth defect, or is it just Down syndrome? What did the doctor suggest you do? I wonder how common it is for parents to know their kid might have a disease and still go through the birth. Non-invasive parental testing is really accurate and new. I'm assuming OP's daughter is older 2 or 3. I don't think it was available yet with my oldest born in 2013. It's a simple blood test that isolates the free-floating fetal DNA in the mother's bloodstream. You can check for multiple types of aneuploidy, including Down syndrome, and it is very accurate, 99.5% I think. Not like the days of old with the quad screen, and it is done very early, 10 to 12 weeks. So if this is something you're worried about, know that testing is getting very accurate in screening for it. And it's pretty uncommon nowadays for someone to go through with a Down syndrome pregnancy. I think the termination rate is about 95% in the US. Uh, there's a 100% chance your wife will know this if she sees it. There's no way another Redditor has the same story, unless you were just worried about looking at your post history. That aside, I worry about having a healthy kid for some of these reasons. I can't imagine what you must go through and how hard. Okay, let's go into the next one. Damn, that's a lot of replies to that. Here we go. My oldest son is severely autistic and 12 years old. Imagine someone bound by OCD that cannot talk and cannot understand seemingly very simple concepts. He can understand some things, but the concept of abstract communication eludes him, i.e., I can tell him to get dressed, but he cannot understand that a tag on a shirt goes behind his neck. So there's a 25% chance his shirt is on correctly, 25% chance it's on backwards, 25% chance it is on facing correctly but inside out, and a 25% chance it is on backwards and inside out. Of course, if it is cold outside, there is a 50% chance he'll come out in shorts. That isn't really too big a deal, but the inability to grasp this portion of communication bleeds into everything. Things 99.9% of people take completely for granted. When he was 3, he had an ear infection. We didn't know that, of course. We just knew that he was inconsolable and in pain from something. He does not understand questions like, does it hurt here? Or, show me where it hurts? Or, does your stomach hurt? Eventually, his eardrum burst out yellow stuff and we said, oh, earache. He has never been given aspirin for a headache. He's probably had a headache, but I don't know. He can't tell us if he has a headache or any kind of ache. He can use a toilet, but doesn't really get using toilet paper. Or maybe he does, but saw us upset once from throwing an entire roll into the toilet. So lately he's been going to the bathroom at 5 a.m., then finding clothes, sheets, towels, something, whatever, and wiping his ass with those. We've pretty much run the washing machine on sanitize about 0.75 times a day for the last 2 weeks. He's got a reason for it somewhere in his head that makes sense to him, but he can't tell us what it is, and we can't get him to figure out the fucking come on, get us if he's taking a shit. When we've taken to hiding foods he prefers in the house, given free rein to potato chips or hummus or cranberries or fucking whatever, he'll eat and then throw up later that night. It's not his fault. He's been on antipsychotics for a few years now, one side effect of which is weight gain. I fucking hate giving him antipsychotics, but not quite as much as how he acted when he wasn't on them. As a family, we cannot realistically travel. Interruptions to his routine result in a constant moan, whine, crying, occasional outburst of self-injury, or rarely attacking others. The pain and fear he feels is very real to him, and we are powerless to provide him comfort. Instead, my wife will travel with my other sons while I stay home with him. He has never had a friend that was not directly a family or therapist. I don't see how he ever will. He will never kiss a girl, drive a car, or have a job. I have no idea if he wants to do those things or not, or if he knows they exist as things at all. In the early days of autism, we threw therapists at him by writing checks against the house and credit card companies to the tune of $30,000 a year for 5 years or so. Insurance has subsequently helped out with some of this. We're still digging our way out of that, slowly but surely. Ultimately, however, they haven't really done much in the context of turning him into a person that can live his own life. That can life his own life. For example, they are now working on having him keep a Band-Aid on. They've had that as part of his program for about 6 months. And he'll keep a Band-Aid on and he'll keep a Band-Aid on for 15 minutes or so. Great. That really is what he gets is that the reality is that when he gets a cut or laceration, it sits open for weeks. He simply will constantly tear away any bandages. I'm sure that he has good reasons in his mind for not wanting a bandage on, but he just doesn't understand the concept of medicine making you feel better in a few days. None of these things seem to get through. He's never been to the dentist. There are some that will work with children like him when he's unconscious. We just haven't felt like giving him anesthesia to take him to the goddamn dentist. It's on the list for this year. He goes through periods of self-injury. When he was a toddler, he banged his head a lot. He broke a few windows in our home. He very likely concussed himself a few times. Lately, he's been punching the table during favorite scenes from Disney films. He has bloody blisters about 3 inches long on both hands. He understands when we tell him, don't do that, punch the pillow instead. He'll punch the pillow for a few minutes and then start banging the walls again. He's simply a slave to the routine. When my wife and I die, people that make $10 an hour will take care of him, or not, for the rest of his life. There's more. So much more. And the thing about autism is that it does not take one motherfucking second off. Nobody gets a day off, ever. He works harder than anyone I know, harder than anyone reading this thread will ever work, and gets shit to show for it. He inhabits a world where everything is too loud, too bright, too confusing, and too uncomforting to his patterns, and is trying as best as he can to navigate through it. He didn't ask for any of this. Sometimes he's got a dickhead father who gets mad at him. He resents him for all these things and a million others that he cannot control. Me, but he deserves better than that. So I'm trying every fucking hour of the day to remember that he is the one who got the raw deal. Not me, not his brothers, him. I have bad moments, but no longer bad weeks or days. I'm working on it. If only I could work as hard as he does, I'd be golden. So the answer to your question is autism happened to him, not us. You're living my nightmare. I am so sorry. Okay, lots of condolences. I am a step-parent. I love my son. Love him like crazy. But he's a slob. And he married a slob with 2 slobby children, and they had another child who was our adored grandson, and likely also a future slob. Their house is always filthy, and by filthy, I mean filthy. They have 5 dogs and at least 2 cats inside the house. The dogs are untrained, so they chew through everything and crap on the floor. It smells like a cat box. Dishes are never washed and sit caked with food just wherever they leave it. Laundry is piled high against the wall in the bedrooms, and you have to pick a path across the living room, dodging toys, dishes, dog crap, and the cats who are always trying to stay one step ahead of the dogs. The smell of cat piss is so strong, my eyes literally watered when I walked in. Beds not made? Yeah, they don't even have proper beds. We've given them 3. Don't know where they went. They sleep on bare mattresses on the floor. Sheets optional. A floor that is covered with dog feces and dirt. I am astonished none of them have developed ringworm or typhoid. The kids smell like dirty litter boxes and go to school in wrinkled, dirty clothing. It's humiliating for us and frightening. They've been reported to DFS, but I don't know what DFS did because their house is still a shithole. The whole situation makes me so angry I don't trust myself with either of them. The urge to shake them and scream, "You stink, clean your fucking house," is nigh uncontrollable. It makes me sick that he and she allowed this to go on. Neither of them are raised in dirty houses. I don't think either of them, but I love them all very much. I don't know what country you're in, but a lot of places living like that with young children is considered child neglect. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I recently gave up all parental rights to my only child, a son, after 13 years of dealing with his mother's lies. Accusations, criminal and family lawsuits based on lies. I truly loved my son. I was an excellent father who did everything possible to teach him the value of truth, kindness, and an honest life. I have been accused of starving him, beating him, doing cocaine, methamphetamine, and heroin, none of which I do. I have had to invest thousands of dollars in legal fees to defend against false claims. My son has picked up her lying, manipulative ways, as well as her desperate need for all attention to focus on her. He has become a liar just like his mother, who supports her falsehoods with his own voice. He has threatened to shoot me and himself with my business protection firearm. For the safety of myself and the safety of my wife, I have severed all ties and allowed him to be adopted by his stepfather, who is an evil and manipulative man just as his mother is. He is his own, in a world I know little about. I fought hard for him, but he continued to lie, not only supporting her outrageous claims, but also coming up with some of his own for added flair. After 12 years of crushing heartbreak, I gave up. Life has been so much less stressful and crushing since. I do know this, knowing that I gave 150% of myself to parenting, so my burden of guilt is minimal. When people are faced with this, I honestly don't understand how they don't lash out with fatal violence. I know in my heart I would, without a doubt. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I've struggled with deciding whether to post this, but I'm doing it anyway because I'm hoping someone can offer a word of advice. I'm a step-parent. My wife has a son from a previous marriage. I'd like to add a little disclaimer before I list the reasons why I dislike/resent him. I'm not a shitty step-parent, and I actually try hard to be a good one. I take the hit, in a sense, because I'm really not fit for parenting, but I won't allow myself to turn out in a bad person he will hate later on in life. Like I said, I don't feel like I'm fit for parenting. I don't feel comfortable around children. That includes my stepson. I have a strong feeling that this is because I'm still young, and it might change when I grow a bit older, but that's the reason for my resentment. Being responsible for a child makes me feel old. While my friends are getting together for parties, trips, and whatnots, I'm stuck at home living a life around a school schedule. Why would you get married to someone with a kid if you didn't want that? It also doesn't help that his personality isn't exactly compatible with mine. I've tried to connect with kids several times, but we're just two different people. I'm introverted and enjoy conversation. My only successful approach with children is trying to teach them stuff or have them talk about stuff they like. My stepson, though, is more into making messes and speaking nonsense 99% of the time. I can't connect with him like that. I don't know how to be one of those fun adults that turn into a child and plays with him. Another thing that pisses me off is that the kid turns into a total brat on family trips. He complains and whines about everything almost all the time. I don't really feel like traveling with him anymore. The short periods when he's always with his biological father are so cherished that I wish they'd never end. That allowed me to get a glimpse of what life would be like if it were just the missus and me. Someone might ask why I married someone that had a kid, and that's a really good question. As cheesy as it might sound, she is the one for me. There's no person I've ever felt so compatible around and with whom I've connected so well. On top of that, she's very understanding of how I feel about her son. So no, I'm not getting out of that relationship. Like I said, despite all this, I still make an effort to be a good parent. While I have issues connecting with him, I try to be as supportive as I can. But it helps with homework or encourage him to partake in activities he enjoys. I also try to teach him good values, and that seems to be well received. I don't know, kids are really easily to manipulate. I don't get why parents have problems with them. I had to watch my nephew for like 2 years, and he was the most well-behaved child ever when he was with me. But his mom is really bad, and so he becomes a brat whenever she comes home. The question instantly reminded me of this thread here that was posted in Off My Chest a while back. One of the most intense, heartbreaking posts I've ever seen on Reddit. A father writing about his son whose life spirals out of control, destroying the family. Oh, I think I've read that one before. Basically, there was this guy who had a son, and his son was just like a huge evil person. He raped his mom, and then his mom killed himself, and then the son made fun of his dad because his mom killed himself after he raped his mom. And I was like, okay, this is... No, what a terrible story. Oh, poor guy. He had the worst son in the world. Not dislike / hate or resent, but close enough. I would say do not love / care. The basis for this is being emotionally unavailable, but in a literal sense, not the just haven't found a person I love yet excuse, since that a lot of people try to hang this on. I credit this with being raised by an alcoholic dad from 3 to 8. He was either at work or passed out, so the experience caused me to develop some type of insulation from emotion that I still carry. I knew early on I didn't want children, got a vasectomy at 21, met a girl around 26, got married, loved her as much as I could, which was still lacking. She was everything, so I was going to feel love. That was it. She was a very nurturing person with good family ties, so regardless of the situation, I knew that together we would make good parents. I got the vasectomy reversed at 31. We had 2 children. Eventually, I figured out the part where I'm incapable of loving someone enough. I can muddle through and go through the motions, but it's not enough. So we divorced with a great deal of sadness after 15 years. Both still in love, just not enough. You would figure that when your kids come along, you would love them more than anything in life, right? Like, this is the ultimate test of whether you're messed up, or just haven't met the right person. Nope. I cared about them, but never felt that type of love. So in the divorce, she got primary custody. I paid a lot of money in child support and see them every other weekend. She's remarried, although I don't think it's that great. And we're amicable and flexible with the kids. I have no problem with meeting my financial obligation and being the father in their lives to the extent that I am. But their mother is very nurturing and loving. They have their stepfather with them to help support them, so I'm fine with our situation. I feel bad that I don't have the drive and desire to be more of a dad to them, but I've learned through all these years that I can't change it. As long as they are safe and happy, that will be enough for me, and hopefully they'll understand when they're older. I know it took 45 years before I could fully understand things my parents did. My father once told me, very seriously, that he hated my stepbrother, his stepson. Easy enough to understand. My stepbrother caused my father to lose lifelong friends. My stepbrother's behavior was so just stupid bad and out of control. Family friends asked us not to bring my stepbrother back to their homes. My dad replied that if my stepbrother wasn't welcome, then none of them were. Then I later found out my stepbrother was a CHOMO, and that's why my dad hated him. A child molester? Oh, hadn't seen it abbreviated like that before. Huh. That's a good one. More detail. What did he do to be hated so much? A child molester. That will do it. Okay. I was not expecting all these stories about disabled children. I think I could add anything on the list of things to discuss with the potential wife from the thread about it the other day. It'd be about aborting a fetus that is likely to be disabled. If she can't be on board with that, then in no way am I getting married. Please keep in mind the OP. Damn, this thread is dark. Yep. Yes, it was.